Hey there, guys. Every other month, I do a Patreon supporter Q&A. What is Patreon? Well, it's a website where you can go and support your favorite creators on a monthly basis. So chances are, if you follow a lot of YouTubers, they probably have a Patreon page. So go check out their Patreon page, as well as HelloGreedo's, and support your favorite creators. As always with these Q&As, I apologize for butchering people's names. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen. The first question comes from Tyrnon Hatchell. What is your earliest memory of Star Wars? Well, it's very difficult for me to say because I really don't have many memories before Star Wars, you know? It's always been a part of my life. The earliest memories are kind of just embedded with my earliest memories of life. It's very difficult for me to think of a period in my life where I didn't have Star Wars in it. So Star Wars for me has been around in my life for as long as I've been able to create memories. Really. I don't have a specific earliest memory of Star Wars. Sean Wachukwu asks a series of questions. You've mentioned in the past that your Star Wars lore is just the original trilogy, but would all this new stuff like the sequel trilogy, Rogue One and Rebels, be added to your personal lore, or is it still the original trilogy only? I wouldn't necessarily say that my Star Wars lore is simply the original trilogy. I mean, I accept everything else, but my passion really lies in the original trilogy, and yeah, I'm really into the sequel trilogy too. So it's not like I have a personal lore where I ignore everything else. Like I said, I do accept it. But when it comes to what I truly love, it's the original trilogy, because I'm a fan of films, and I think those are the pinnacle of great movies in the saga. And with the sequels, I mean, that's all going to change, right? I loved The Force Awakens, and I'm probably going to like The Last Jedi. He also asks, are you a theist, atheist, agnostic, deist, or other? I really don't know, man. I have a hard time, like, putting a label on things that I think or believe in or whatnot. When it comes to religion, I'm not a religious person. I'm very agnostic, I guess you could say. I'm a very evidence-driven person. I can't just believe something without evidence. I can't just believe something on faith. I understand why people do. It's comforting. I get it. But that's just not me. Like I said, I understand it, but I don't know. He also asks, in your opinion, what makes a compelling main character and an effective main villain? An effective main character, well, they have to be relatable. You have to like them, not necessarily like them as they're a good guy and they always do good. You have to like them in the way that you're invested in their character. They have to be deep and have a lot of character flaws or overcome certain things, and that kind of goes in the same direction as a main villain. Characters that always stick around are the ones that you can relate to or understand their plight and enjoy their characteristics. Like Luke Skywalker, for example. He's the farm boy who wants something more in his life. He's like we all do, right? We're always looking to see what we can do to better ourselves and go on that great adventure that we've always dreamed of doing. So in that way, Luke Skywalker is a very relatable character, in the same way that Rey is. And Sean asks 2 more questions. Who did you vote for, if you did, in the general election? That's pretty personal. I don't know if I want to answer that. And the last question from Sean, are you willing to play prequel matches in Star Wars Battlefront 2? Absolutely. Absolutely I am. And to tell you the truth, I'm looking forward to it. Benjamin Herzig asks, have you ever played the first 2 Knights of the Old Republic games, and what do you think of them? If not, I highly recommend them. Yes, I think I only played the first one. Dude, it's been so long, I have a hard time remembering which one I played. I'm sure I played both of them at some point, but I know I didn't finish either of them. And I'm actually kind of thinking about doing a live stream of the original Knights of the Old Republic, because a lot of people have been requesting that, and I think that I should jump into it because it's something that everybody praises, and I feel like I'm missing out by not going deep into that game. Yorma Naomi asks, have you visited any of the locations where any of the Star Wars movies were shot? No, I haven't. Have I? Let me think. No, I don't think I have. But I've always wanted to go to, like, Tunisia and check out like some of the Tatooine locations. That's always been a goal of mine. I don't know if I'll go there anytime soon because apparently from last I looked or heard, it was an ISIS stronghold, so I might wait a little while. But it is definitely a goal of mine. Yorma also asks, have you read The Princess Diarist, which is the Carrie Fisher's last book? And if yes, any thoughts on that? No, I haven't, actually. I have a stack of books next to my bed that I'm currently reading or putting off. Right now I'm reading Ike's Bluff, and it's basically about my favorite president, Dwight D. Eisenhower. But eventually I'll get around to reading Carrie Fisher's book. Tyler Bryant asks, what are your thoughts about the heavily rumored Obi-Wan Solo movie and Leia not being in Episode 9? You know, that's a rumor that I think will ultimately come true. Do I want an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie? I don't. Do I need it? I really don't. You know, if you guys have been following the channel for a while, I have this philosophy about telling too much about characters. Like, I don't want a Boba Fett movie. The cool thing about Boba Fett is his mystery. And the more we know about him, the more it kind of takes away from his character. But not everything needs to be explained or gone in depth with when it comes to characters. Like Han Solo's introduction to us in A New Hope in the Mos Eisley Cantina is perfect. We really don't need to know much about his backstory. I know we all have that urge as Star Wars fans. We want to know more. We want to know more. But when it comes to storytelling and character development, everybody has to start from somewhere. And we don't need to meet everybody as a kid or a teenager. We don't need to see them develop. Sometimes an introduction in the moment is way more powerful than telling an entire backstory. And the question about Leia not being in Episode 9, I heard that they were not going to CGI Carrie Fisher in Episode 9, which is a good thing. I'm curious if like her family had an issue with that. I'm not too sure if she's going to be totally out of Episode 9. Maybe they have some past footage or something that they'll use. Or it's possible that Princess Leia will die in Episode 8. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. Either way, I'm cool with whatever the story group decides to do. Jean-Pierre Jinhui asks, have you seen the documentary I Am Your Father available on Netflix? What are your thoughts on having Dave Prowse be behind the mask? I actually have not got around to watching I Am Your Father. It's like, I have a list of stuff that I need to watch written next to my computer desk. That's definitely one of them. And when I do watch it, I plan on doing a review or a thoughts video on it. It'll definitely happen in the future. You know me, I don't plan things. But I like having Dave Prowse behind the mask, man. I like all that kind of production information. That's some of my favorite things about Star Wars, how it was made. And seeing Dave Prowse behind the mask, I've always liked him. Phil asks, you correctly deride online rumor mills as simple clickbait hacks. However, which channels and information sources would you support? It sounds like you have a good rapport with Dash Star. Any others? Yeah, man, there's a whole community of Star Wars YouTubers that like I'm in contact with. We have a Twitter like message group that we constantly talk to one another through. Like Star Wars Explained, Dash Star, Battlefront Updates, Geekdom 101. There's more too. I mean, it's pretty incredible that we're all very supportive of one another. It's really great. And Steel Wars, if you guys haven't listened to Steel Wars podcast, one of my favorite. But yeah, man, I don't get into the rumors. I don't get into that kind of stuff. Like when I Google something Star Wars and all these news articles pop up, it's just like all the goofy headline clickbait stuff, and it just really bums me out. I prefer to listen to official sources when it comes to news, because if it's not an official source, most of the time it doesn't come true. Take, for example, the recent unaltered trilogy rumor, which happens every year, but there was a recent one. And that's not coming true, according to Kathleen Kennedy when she was interviewed by Steel Saunders. So yeah, I try to avoid all the rumors that aren't, just because they usually don't come true. The movie critic dude asks, what do you think of Star Wars Rebels ending with Season 4, which is set to be going into the Rogue One movie sequence of events? Will you ever do a big whole retrospective review video on both Star Wars The Clone Wars, the movie, and the TV series, as well as Star Wars Rebels sometime in the near future, if you have the time, since both of these series were done by Dave Filoni? P.S. Star Wars The Clone Wars, both the movie and the TV series, is still on Netflix, and Star Wars Rebels is on Kiss Cartoon. I've always been a big believer in ending TV shows when you feel like they need to end. I think like BBC shows and stuff that comes out of like England has a good track record of ending shows when they should end. Like, there's so many shows that just go on way too long, and you look back and you're like, man, they should have ended that seasons ago. Like Dexter. I loved the first couple seasons, and then it just felt like a chore to watch. The writing got sloppy, everything was just, I don't know, became boring. So if they feel like Star Wars Rebels needs to end after season 4, I'm 100% supportive. If they've been able to tell their story the way they want to tell it, I think ending a show is never a bad thing. And oftentimes, it's a good decision. I mean, sometimes shows just go on so long, you just feel like they're milking it, you know? And yeah, I'll eventually get around to like watching all of Rebels and maybe the Clone Wars. And if I do, I'll definitely do, like, as you said, a retrospective review where I just talk about the series as a whole. But right now, I don't have any plans to do that. Like I said earlier, I never plan anything. There's so much good TV out there, man. And eventually, I'll get around to it, but I can't set a time or date. Connor McCallum asks, would you be fine with seeing Boba Fett in the Han Solo film next year? Would you like to see any future projects, books, movies, shows that focus on the Mandalorians? I really don't want to see Boba Fett in the Han Solo movie, man. Like I said earlier, some of the, sometimes the best aspects of a character is the mystery. And you like Boba Fett, he wears a mask, you don't know what he looks like. He's cool looking. It's awesome. But now we know what he looks like as a kid. But a movie that focuses on, like, Mandalorians, yeah, I'd like to see that. That'd be neat. Connor also asks, what are you looking forward to most for episode 8? Surprises. That's what I want. I want surprises. And from the teaser trailer, I think we're in for a lot of surprises. I really hope they do some really interesting stuff with Luke Skywalker. And knowing Rian Johnson, I think they're going to go that route. But yeah, the thing that I'm most looking forward to is just being taken off guard, hopefully, by a lot of mystery and surprises that they feed to the audience, things that aren't expected. I'm also really looking forward to just seeing the character development of Rey, who's a fantastic character. And Connor asks, what are your thoughts on Rex potentially being confirmed in episode 6? Yeah, I heard about that. There's a bearded guy who you'd probably recognize if you watched Return of the Jedi as much as me. There's a bearded guy who vaguely resembles Rex, and people are saying that is Rex in Return of the Jedi. I don't know. I like it, whatever. I mean, not every background soldier needs a backstory or needs to be connected to everything else, I feel like it's a little goofy. Can't we have more than one white bearded, like, gray dude in Star Wars without him having to be connected to every other white bearded gray dude? Robert C. asks, how many helmets do you have and how many are on-screen versions only? Ever use a stand-in or stunt double in your videos? I have 5 masks/helmets. I have a Greedo, I have 2 Stormtrooper helmets, I have a TIE pilot helmet, and a Jar Jar Binks mask. Only one of them is technically, like, 501st approved and screen accurate. It's my Stormtrooper helmet, the one that I wear in my videos. All the other ones could technically be 501st approved if I made a lot of modifications to them, which I might do in the future. I really don't know. But I do enjoy using all of my masks for certain videos. Sometimes I like to have Greedo in a video or Jar Jar in a video. I rarely have my TIE pilot helmet in videos, which I should include more. And no, I've never used a stand-in or stunt double in my videos. I'm trying to think of one where somebody else was in my video. Other than like the In JJ We Trust videos, I can't think of any other ones. Yeah, for the most part, it's just me. Every time, like if you see multiple people on screen, it's always me, just changing clothes and wearing different masks or standing in different directions. So yeah, it's just pretty much a one-man show. Simon Shackleton says, hi, I love your channel and am very pleased you are answering my questions. Number 1, if you could be a part of the Star Wars movies, what would you like to do? It could be actor, writer, director, or something completely different. I would be an actor. I think it would be cool to just be a background stormtrooper, man. I'd love to be an actor or a voiceover guy, or, I mean, anything would be cool, right? But just being like a background stormtrooper would wet my whistle enough. Or a background actor who has one line. So if anybody from Disney is listening, Simon also asks, have you ever thought about doing another Imperial Paper Pusher video? Yes. That's a series that I enjoy doing. I've only done 2 videos. I was a little disappointed with my second video. I really liked my first video because it was short and sweet. My second video, I look back on it and I wish I would have done a lot different. Shorter scenes, goofier premises. I think the reason the second Paper Pusher video was the way it was because I just got out of like an office job, and there were a lot of things from that video where I was kind of like seriously commentating on office life, and it wasn't as goofy as the first one. But yeah, I'll eventually get around to making a third one. Number 3, I'm sure you have been on Dash Star's channel, but have you ever been on or invited to go on another person's channel? Yeah, I did do a little collaboration with Dash. It was a Vader video about his like 10 most deadliest kills, I think it was. Have I ever been invited to go on another person's channel? I've talked to other channels, and we've always wanted to collaborate, but a lot of times, hell, I'll blame myself. I'm a little flaky with that kind of stuff. I have a tendency to, I don't know why, but I flake out on things, and I sometimes forget to message people back. Not for any ill will or, like, negative things that I have in my head, just because I'm a very forgetful person and I'm very flaky. But I'd love to. Brenden Maltz asks, if you could go back in time and see any Star Wars movie opening night, which one would it be? Keep in mind you have your memory of that movie erased for that one time to see it, and then go back to the present with the knowledge you already have of the film. Interesting. I'd probably go back in time to see The Empire Strikes Back. I'm sure that hype was pretty huge. Yeah, that's the movie I'd like to go back and see in theaters. I mean, obviously I was too young to see it in theaters. I was born in 1986, but that's the one I'd like to go back in time and see on opening night. But I never really have a desire to go back in time overall. I'd rather go into the future, well past my expected expiration date. Ian Reichs asks, what do you think of Star Wars Forces of Destiny? Personally, I like the art style of animation. I think it's really neat that they're making a new series. I'm not too sure if it's going to overlap with the 4th season of Star Wars Rebels. I haven't looked into it very much. But yeah, I agree. I like the art style too. Like I said, I haven't really looked into it that much other than viewing some pictures and reading a little bit about it. But I feel like I should finish Rebels before I jump into Forces of Destiny. But I'm glad they're doing it. Mike Hawk asks, did you go to college / university? If so, where? If you have a career, are there any aspects of it that are related to what you do on your channel or related to Star Wars in general? I've briefly mentioned this in interviews and whatnot. I did go to college around 2005 and 6. I just didn't have the maturity level to finish, so I ended up enlisting in the Navy. Spent 4 years in the Navy, got out in 2011. Currently, I'm in college using the GI Bill, and I love it. So yeah, I'm in college right now. I probably have a year left to go. And you asked about a career. Well, I do some side stuff, and pretty much everything that I do on the channel, I also do with my side stuff. But I plan on being a high school computer art teacher when I finish college. So everything that I've learned and taught myself in videography, graphic design, and audio editing, I'm going to apply to those classes that I teach. But yeah, that's my ultimate goal, to have a career as a computer art teacher in high school. CJ Chynoweth asks, what is your favorite unrealistic Snoke theory? Some of the ideas that fans come up with are outrageous. I agree. To tell you the truth, I don't really follow any Snoke theories or whatever. I mean, I talked about clickbait earlier. I understand that people like to speculate, but I don't get into it. I don't get into it at all. I'm trying to think. Like, a lot of people think Snoke is Darth Plagueis. Okay. I mean, that's one of my biggest problems with, like, fandom as a whole is that everything has to be connected. We can never have any new characters. I mean, as soon as like a picture comes up on the internet, a leaked picture or an officially released picture, everybody assumes that it's somebody from the past that we already know about, you know? I want new characters. But yeah, I don't really pay attention to any Snoke theory, so I can't really think of a specific one that I feel like is the most outrageous to me. But like I said, I just want new characters. Not everything has to be connected. Brenden McCallion asks, "Hello, Greedo. Proud to be supporting you." Thanks, man. As a longtime subscriber, I understand and appreciate your fascination with space exploration. I'm wondering, where did all that begin for you? Can you remember a specific moment that intrigued or inspired you? And to expand on that, what are your thoughts on the future of space exploration with all that's happening with SpaceX at the moment? Best wishes from Ireland. Just like Star Wars, I don't really have a first moment or single event that inspired or intrigued me. It's always been a part of my life. I mean, my dad definitely was the biggest inspiration for my love for space exploration and astronomy. He's always been into it. I have like a stack of books that he's given me over the years that he read when he was younger. But yeah, that really, like his love for astronomy and space exploration, his fascination with it, I have to give credit to that for inspiring me to be interested in it. And of course, I mean, over the years, just I've seen like 6 or 7 shuttle launches in the past over the years. Sadly, you know, the shuttle isn't in service anymore, which is a bummer. And they don't even have a backup for it. It's stupid. But yeah, seeing shuttle launches and all that kind of stuff. I go to Kennedy Space Center maybe once every other year. Not as much as I wish I could. But yeah, there's really no single one moment that got me into it. It's just been a lifelong obsession. Jared Hahn asks, "I want your thoughts for an idea I had for Battlefront 2. It's sorta an online galactic conquest. You have 40-player multiplayer. You have vote between a couple nearby planets maps you want to play on. Some planets are in rebel control, and the rebels would have to defend against the incoming Imperials, sort of like Walker Assault. Other planets are in an Imperial control, and the Imperials have to defend against the rebels, sort of like Turning Point. Whatever side wins gets control of the planet. I think something like this would be really cool because it allows players to choose what map and game mode to play on. It sort of brings back the feel of Galactic Conquest." Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of too. No, I think that's a really cool idea. These grand matches that determine an outcome after the match is done moves on to another thing. I like that idea, man. I think Battlefront needs something like that nowadays, like a Galactic Conquest, like you said. Because while little matches are fun and stuff like that, little matches that turn into bigger matches and determine the outcome of, like, as you said, a control planet would be really interesting and keep people engaged in the game to have these big moments. And I really think Battlefront 2 needs something like that. So yeah, I completely agree and like your idea. Starisma Tony Zotti, says, "Hello, Greedo. Goes without saying, a big admirer of you and your glorious channel. Thanks, man. A fun question this time. Whilst at Celebration last year in my hometown of London, and again whilst watching the live stream of this year's Star Wars Celebration Orlando, I saw a group cosplaying you, with buckets on and wearing sharp suits and ties, synonymous with the ubiquitous HelloGreedo look. Other than a Stormtrooper and Greedo, which Star Wars character or personality would you choose to cosplay at a convention?" I think we might be thinking of the same group of guys. Were there 3 of them? I actually saw them and took this picture when I was waiting in line to get into Celebration. I thought it was pretty neat. I don't know if they were cosplaying me. I mean, the suit with a Stormtrooper helmet was probably around before the channel. I don't think I really invented that. It's kind of become the HelloGreedo look, I guess. But to answer your question, if I was to cosplay at a convention, my main goal would be to be comfortable. Like, wearing Stormtrooper armor is not comfortable at all. So to spend hours and hours and hours and hours at a convention, I'd probably go with something comfortable like, I don't know, like an Imperial officer maybe. Something like that didn't restrict movement or restrict my vision. That's not to say I haven't worn my Stormtrooper armor at conventions. I have, and it was fun. but it really restricts your movement and you can't really explore the convention as much as you'd like to, and it's not easy. So yeah, something comfortable. Carter asks, what is your favorite film starring a Star Wars actor that isn't a Star Wars movie? That has to be a Harrison Ford movie. Off the top of my head, my two favorite Harrison Ford movies are, other than Star Wars, of course, is Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. That's my favorite. And then Air Force One, which is one of my all-time favorite action movies. I love it. I could watch that on repeat. I love it. I just love it. Carter also asks, now that Rogue One and The Force Awakens have come and gone, what order would you recommend showing all 8 films to a non-Star Wars fan? My brother and I are planning a binge because he wants to get interested before Episode 8 comes out. Hesitant to start with TPM AOTC. If somebody's never seen Star Wars, I think the best way to show them is in release order. The way that everyone has seen them. I know a lot of people will disagree with that, but I think release order is the way to do it. So you'd go A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Force Awakens, and Rogue One. I think watching the films as everyone else has watched over the years is very important. You can kind of see the evolution of storytelling, the evolution of Star Wars in the release order. Not even necessarily within the film's universe, but outside. You can kind of see the thought process of the directors and the writers and the prop makers. And you can explain that this one came out in 1999. This one came out in 2005. This one came out in 2015, and you can kind of get a feel for how the Star Wars saga evolved over time. And I think that's pretty neat to see for a first-time viewer.